Good day. Thank you for joining me for the 25th episode of the weekly Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast. Please share and comment on the channel, and please subscribe if you have not yet done so. Festival, whining and excelling with booty, overseas Jamaican medics in the house, and are we going to ditch Missy Queen or not? All among the potpourri of news and opinion this week. Let's start with the papers. The Sunday Gleaner takes on the 3-year-old project of banning some single-use plastics. Its investigation with Tyrone Reid, Gareth Davis Jr., Corey Robinson and Mark Titus finds that holes have been punched into the plastic ban program, with scandal bags, for example, being widely available. Good work by the Gleaner team with a sidebar of facts and information about how plastics choke us. Erica Virtue features that goodly doctor, whose patience as far as road traffic matters go knows no bounds. The affable Dr. Lucian Jones, co-chair of the Jamaica Road Safety Council, is the voice crying in the wilderness and forever gives time to media and service to the public on road safety matters. His patience is like Job's, and his character, God blessed. Now the Gleaner editorial writer takes on that fluid timetable or even iffy intent regarding dumping the monarchy. That's all out there after Marlene Malahoo Ford's presentation in the House last week. The Gleaner says, quote, Prime Minister Andrew Holness needs to clarify if his government is really committed to ditching the monarchy and establishing as a republic, and if it is, when, end quote. Now to the Observer. Jamaican Dr. George Savage, living away for decades now, came back to Jamaica recently to help out and reflects in an interview with H.E. Helps on what he saw and lived up front as a boy in Kingston's violent West. Born in Greenwich Town, lived in Rima and Denham Town, educated at St. Albans and Camperdown High, he had a front seat and front view. Read his story in The Observer. It's part of a package of lengthy stories on doctors and other medical personnel from the Jamaica Awareness Association of California, who were in St. Mary last week helping and training medical staff. By the way, more than by the way, there is no explanation for the absence of the popular page 2 column by H.E. Helps in The Observer. What has gone wrong? In The Observer, Clovis's cartoon is priceless. It's about that idea floated by Omar Davis, Minister of State in the Office of the Prime Minister, about the need, as he sees it, for police to sit at the table to negotiate with gangsters. His sidekick here is Delroy Chuck, Minister of Justice. Brilliant, Clovis. Now Horace Hines takes the debate further, calling out some big names from the West on the matter of gunmen sitting down with police, like the Observer first reported during last week. That's the papers. Brace yourself now. Businesswoman and creative Crystal Cameron wades into the bumping and grinding that we often exhibit and call culture, or even sexy. Brace yourself. Here's Crystal Cameron.
It seems nowadays that you can't go a day without hearing the laments of how powerless women are and how susceptible to exploitation of every single brand. What I'm seeing here, what our culture has become, what we celebrate is women exploiting themselves. This is what we export worldwide and call our culture. This is what people associate with us. And I'm here to say there's nothing to be proud of with this. It's time for us to look towards a paradigm shift. This culture, I'm sorry, not sorry, it's trash. It's time for a paradigm shift. It's time for women to recognize that we have been derelict in our duties in society. Which man would want to marry this? Which child would be proud to claim this as their mother? This right here shows where we've gone with our standards when we've over-embraced feminism and told men that their roles in society are naturally exploitative. This right here is a society in decay. This right here is nothing that you would ever want your daughter to emulate or want your son to bring home to you. What does that say about us? Our marriage rates have been tanking. Nuclear families tanking. Even though children get better results in nuclear families, men build society. It is the role, the duty of women to maintain that society through our virtue, through our morals, through our grace, through our softer hearts and more sympathetic natures. But we've been derelict in that duty. And so as a result of that, this is what happens when you have generations and generations of women having sex with married men, having children with men who are not marrying them, who will not marry them, have no intentions of marrying them. We need to look and see how this dynamic is really poisoning our societies. Let's be real, women. If we want to say we are going to take control of our power in society, that comes with our duties in society, or duties to maintaining the moral fiber and character of society, or duties to being admirable women who men can be proud of, who men can celebrate in their lives. As a result, it is making our men oversexed and worthless, and it is making our daughters completely lacking respect for men because they don't see men being present and being responsible. It is making young boys hate women because they resent their mothers. They resent what they see to be their mother's promiscuous, inappropriate behavior. There must be a time where people can be self-aware enough to realize that this paradigm shift needs to take place. This cannot be who we are. This cannot be who we are proud to say we are. There is nothing to celebrate about this.
That's Crystal Cameron, head of Crystal Cameron Designs. To Frankly Speaking, the commentary now. Macka Diamond, the DJ, has called for a cleaner Jamaica as a project, not as a one-off event. She's a relatively young woman and says she remembers when her mother drummed it into her about cleanliness being next to godliness, and when children help to clean the schools and so on. Many of us share those sentiments and experiences. Frankly speaking, for years, I've been talking about this nastiness into which we have descended, and I'm not going to let it go, because this is not who we are as Jamaicans. And as Macka Diamond reminds us, this is not who we need to be. Frankly speaking, part of this nastiness around is government slackness. Whole communities are now overrun by garbage. And this is not just about aesthetics or how terrible the place looks. There are health concerns too, as a medical officer of health for St. Thomas was saying at the municipal meeting in that parish last week. Some places have large rats scurrying about between mounds of garbage and places where food is prepared. Garbage, as I said last week, frankly speaking, is everywhere, and we should be ashamed about it. Councillors in municipal corporations are calling out for greater levels of cleanliness and more efficient removal of garbage that the National Solid Waste Management Authority cannot deliver and is not delivering. Frankly speaking, this is slackness. Legal collection points are few, and people are having to travel with their garbage in their vehicles in the rural areas for up to 15 miles to dispose of it in a skip. This is a shameful burden. The poor besieged head of the NSWMA, Audley Gordon, last week announced again that by year end, perhaps even as early as November, 50 trucks should be coming to add to the fleet. Frankly speaking, don't expect champagne to pop over this. Those 50 trucks were needed from last year and will be absorbed. They won't make a difference much. Frankly speaking, what should have been announced is when the next set of trucks will be coming and what arrangement is there to help keep this country clean all the time. It can't be so big a deal, especially among people, we Jamaicans, whose relatives just a few years ago used to wash their streets and sidewalks, clean and sanitize their pit latrines, and use broomweed to sweep their yards just to keep it all clean. It can't be too hard to get the streets clean again. That cannot be too hard, frankly speaking. This is Crosstalk. Desmond Richards raises the name of Edward Seaga on cultural matters, and then he shells the government's economic program. I'll respond, but here first is Desmond Richards, journalist and businessman.
60 years ago, then Community Development Minister Eddie Seaga initiated the Jamaican Festival to showcase things Jamaica. And this has been working well for 60 years. Very well. Like many Jamaicans, I was shocked and astounded when Minister Green told the nation that a key component of the festival celebration, the popular festival song, will not be part of the celebration this year because of the low quality of the entrance. Now, I don't accept that. And what the minister should do is play the music, play those songs which were rejected. Now, Eddie Seaga is ranting in his grave. He's furious and is asking, Babsy, what are you doing? What is happening? Now, the decline in all areas of the Jamaican environment has continued. Social, political, and economic. Downward. Recently, the announcement came that the unemployment rate was down 6.3%. That is very good news. What they have not told us is that 700,000 workers were not captured in that survey. These are the people who are selling cigarettes and ice cement and ganja and sidewalks around Jamaica. The same people who are not looking for work, out of the workforce. And they also include the gunmen who are reaping big bucks from the drugs for guns trade, scamming, and the hired assassins. They were not captured in the data at all. The inflation is up 11.8 and climbing. And the workforce are still living off starvation wages. Now, we must remember that during the 60s, 5% of the Jamaican population controlled 95% of the wealth. Today, 1% of the population control 95% of the wealth. And the gap is widening. Now, on top of that, the economic policies being pursued to address the matter are not working. They are not working at all. Interest rates are going up. And we must remember with every 1% climb in interest rate, that is $6.5 billion to the overburdened taxpayers to service debt and other financial obligations. And the dollar keeps on going down. That is an additional burden.
That's Desmond Richards. Now, Desmond, my friend, the absence of festival songs is more than a little let down. But seeking to blow the government's economic program out of the water is wrong-headed. First, all economic indicators show the economy and the management by the finance minister to be going in the right direction. The net international reserves, for example, grew again in May by 22 million US dollars to 3.75 billion US dollars to be able to run things for over 25 weeks of supplies. The dollar has been fairly steady for most of the year so far, and it is available. GDP growth has continued, with the first quarter of calendar 22 seeing 6% increase. Now that's 4 consecutive quarters, indicating a clear revival after COVID. Indeed, the World Bank, that slashed growth prospects for the rest of the world and that has fingered recession and even stagflation for some, says Jamaica's economy will continue to grow this year and next. Weak growth next year, of course, but it will grow. Indeed, look at some other places like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Argentina, and Colombia, where people have gone to the streets. It's not pretty, which is not to say Jamaicans are not hurting, especially the many hustling a day-to-day living. Now that's where the large dangers exist. It's not enough to roll out the economic data. People matter. And that's perhaps where we should go next week. Thank you for staying with us this week on Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast. Please share and let us know what you think by sending us your comments on this channel. And if you have not yet done so, please subscribe. I am Franklin McKnight. Until then.